These are the most important sneaker releases in June 2023 that you need to know about. What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and this is Sit or Sell. Starting things off on June 1st, we've got a bunch of New Balances dropping, the first of which is the New Balance 550 in black and white. As you can probably guess from the name of this shoe, this is a black and white leather New Balance 550. Now the 550 is a low-top basketball-inspired sneaker back from the 1980s, I believe, and is one of my favorite New Balance silhouettes available. Now the good thing about the 550 is that over the last year and a half to 2 years, New Balance has really been spamming us with colorways, which in my opinion is a great thing because it means you can walk into any store and find a pair for retail. In fact, certain colorways you can find for under retail, which is great because in my opinion this is a great all-around summer sneaker. It's comfortable-ish, it's good looking, and it's leather, so it will last a long time. Now because there are so many different colorways of the 550 already available, the shoe probably won't be that hyped up, so for that reason I'm giving this colorway a sit. Now remember how I said the 550 is usually a leather sneaker? Well, there is a new version of this shoe dropping on the same day, June 1st, that comes in canvas, hence the name New Balance 550 Canvas. So this shoe comes in an almost entirely white or off-white colored makeup. The upper of the shoe comes in canvas, as you probably would have guessed, and then the New Balance logo is outlined in black stitching. It reminds me a lot of the 550 that came in leather that was the same color. I mean, it looks almost identical. The only real difference is that the upper of the shoe is in canvas, which is fine. I'm not sure exactly which version of the shoe I like better. Probably the leather one because canvas stains pretty easily, but it's still a good looking sneaker. But hey, you could make the argument that this is a more summery version of the 550s because the material changes. However, the price did increase by $10 for this release for whatever reason. The good news is though, if you want to grab a pair of these, should be easy to grab, and I definitely think these shoes probably will end up sitting on shelves. And then finally rounding off the New Balance news for June 1st, we've got one final release with the New Balance 650 in white and purple. The 650, if you're not familiar, is sort of a high top version of the 550. I mean, the bottom half of the shoe looks almost identical, with the top half being the only real difference. As with the black colorway, the shoe comes in primarily white with some purple hits, and it reminds me a lot of the purple and white 550. It looks almost the same except high top. Personally, I think it's a dope looking sneaker. If I needed another pair of 650s, which I don't, so I'm good, this would be a shoe that I would grab because I think it's decent looking. However, like with the other New Balances that we just talked about, they're wide releases. They should be very readily available, and you shouldn't have too hard of a time grabbing this because I do think it will sit on shelves. Also dropping on June 1st, we've got the Adidas NMD S1 in black. Now there's actually a lot of Adidas sneakers dropping on June 1st. I think there's a white version of this shoe and there's like 7 different 4Ds dropping, but the only one that I think people will really care about is this one because this shoe comes in like the OG NMD colorway. Now obviously the NMD S1 is a different version of the NMD. It's not the original NMD, but in my opinion, it's the best. It's the most comfortable, it's the wildest looking, and I think a lot of people really gravitate towards the S1 silhouette. Now up until recently, the NMD S1 was not that widely available. In fact, it was pretty difficult to find a pair for retail, but it seems like Adidas has sort of remedied that by dropping a bunch of colorways of the NMD S1s. Now in my opinion, this is one of the best, if not the best, NMD S1 colorway so far. It definitely embodies that NMD vibe with the blue and the red hits on the midsole. I think it's very, very clean, but unfortunately at the end of the day for Adidas, I feel like the NMD S1 hype has died down a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see whether normal sneaker buyers who are not sneakerheads gravitate towards the silhouette as much as sneakerheads did. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think this shoe will be hard to get because I do think that this shoe will probably end up sitting on shelves. Also dropping on the 1st, we've got a release that I'm incredibly excited for, but it's not actually a pair of sneakers. This shoe is in fact the Crocs Slides. I know, it's weird to put slides on this list, however, this is not actually the only pair of slides on the list. So this pair of slides is essentially the Salehi Bembury Paulex Crocs, however, this time around in slide form, and I've got to say they are very, very clean. I love the Paulex Crocs, I think they're sick. I pretty much love everything that Salehi Bembury does. Big Salehi Bembury fan, but these slides in particular look amazing. I think the fingerprint on the, the strap of the slide looks really, really sick. I think this orange colorway, or Arctic, what is it, Arctic Mist or something like that's the official name. The color is dope on this shoe, and I'm really gonna try and get my hands on a pair of these, but knowing anything Salehi Bembury, the shoe will be very difficult to get because people are hype on Salehi at the moment. And then finally rounding off June 1st, we've got the Tiana Taylor Air Jordan 1 Zoom Comfort 2. So this shoe has me feeling a couple different things. The first is that at first glance, I do like the way the sneaker looks, at least from the left side. The second is that why did they do this on a Comfort Zoom 2 or Zoom Comfort 2? It's like the worst silhouette of the Air Jordan 1 in my opinion. I don't love it, but it's more comfortable than the standard Jordan 1, so I guess there's something to like about it, it's just not for me. And the third is, it looks a lot like a pair of Off-Whites. Now to be fair, it is sort of a variation on the Chicago colorway, and Virgil can't claim the Chicago colorway. It's not a colorway he invented, it's like the most iconic Air Jordan 1 colorway, so the similarities between this shoe and the Chicago Off-Whites is purely, I think, the stitching details and the fact that the swoosh kind of goes into the midsole of the shoe, which a couple of different Off-White sneakers did. So there's not too much there really tying the two collaborations together. I really think it is more people just having Off-White in the brain. That being said, the shoe is interesting, and the first reason it's interesting is because the right shoe and the left shoe are actually different from one another. The left shoe features this Nike swoosh which spills on over onto the midsole, and the right shoe features a much more standard Nike swoosh with thorns along the side. I initially thought that the thorny Nike swoosh was on the medial side of the shoe or the inside of the shoe, and then the outer swoosh was that sort of larger Nike swoosh, but it turns out it's actually one swoosh per side of the pair, which is odd to me. It's an interesting collaboration. That being said, I'm not like a huge Tiana Taylor fan or anything like that, so it's not something I really feel like picking up, but that doesn't mean it's a bad collaboration. I do think she did her thing on this shoe. I think technically the name of the collaboration is A Rose from Harlem, which is similar to the name of her song, Rose in Harlem, so there's that sort of vibe going on. It's got this cool rose detail on the laces, which I think is actually really cool that it's part of the shoe. It's something that you can remove if you don't like it, but it's an interesting collaboration. I think she did a good job on this shoe. It's just not something that I would personally rock. That being said though, there is definitely some hype behind this sneaker. If you look at this shoe on like GOAT and StockX right now, it is trending upward. I think it's selling for around $300 when it retails for $150. Granted, it is still before the release of this shoe, but really only like a day or two at the time of filming this, so I do think there will be some hype behind this sneaker, and because of that, I do think this shoe will end up selling out. Then moving on to June 6th, we've got the Nike Zoom Zoomero 5 in Varsity Maze. Now this is actually a shoe that I've had for a minute. I thought it was in my studio, it must be upstairs because I was just wearing it today, but this is a shoe that I've had in my closet for a while. I actually got it from Takeout, I think at the end of last month. If you guys haven't checked out Takeout NY, you definitely need to. It's an awesome store in New York City. They're also the only current brick and mortar retailer to carry Apothecary socks, so if you guys live in New York and want to grab some Apothecary socks, check out Takeout NY, link in the description below. But the Zoom Zoomero 5 is one of the most popular sneakers that Nike makes at the moment, which is crazy because it's like a 10-plus-year-old sneaker, running sneaker at that. It wasn't specifically made to be a lifestyle sneaker, and for whatever reason, it's become incredibly popular and people are all about it. So this bright yellow Varsity Maze colorway, while it might not be for everybody, is definitely a shoe that I think some people are pretty hyped on, including myself. Plus, the Zoom Zoomero 5, because it's a running sneaker, is incredibly comfortable underfoot. It's not as comfortable as something like the Nike Invincible Run 3, but it's solid and it's definitely worth checking out. Now with that being said, even though some of the previous releases of the Zoom Zoomero 5s, primarily the silver ones and the gray ones and the black ones, sold out over the last 6 months to a year. I don't remember exactly when they started re-releasing the shoe. They've kind of slowed down. They're still selling really well, but they're not completely selling out. So because of that, I do think this yellow colorway, the Varsity Maze Zoom Zoomero 5, will probably end up sitting on shelves in certain sizes. Now, the blue colorway that dropped like a month ago ended up selling out in like all the women's sizes, but there's still a lot of men's sizes available. I think that's very possible for this shoe as well. I think a certain size run might sell out and then the rest will still be available. I'm not really sure, but overall, I am giving this shoe a sit. Also dropping on the 6th, we've got the Nike Airship Tech Gray. Now my love of the Nike Airship has been well documented on YouTube over the last couple months. I absolutely love this silhouette. It's incredible, and the fact that Nike is finally giving us more colorways of this shoe more frequently is awesome. Now this Nike Airship Tech Gray is definitely one of the more toned down Nike Airship colorways to release recently. It's got a gray suede hit around the ankle area and also on the Nike swoosh. It's got a black or dark brown outsole and the rest of it's white leather. Now with all that being said, it's an incredibly clean look. It's not that exciting for people who don't care about the Nike Airship, but for someone like me who just loves the simple, clean aesthetic of the shoe, this is one of those sneakers that if I can grab for retail, I will absolutely be picking it up. Now, as we've seen with previous Nike Airship releases, I think this shoe will be relatively limited and only release at like boutiques and places like that, so I don't think it's gonna be that easy of a shoe to grab. So for that reason, even though it's not the most hyped up sneaker in the world, I do think this shoe will end up selling out. Next up, also dropping on the 6th, we've got the Nike Air Force 1 Color of the Month in Oil Green. So in 2023, Nike decided to restart the Color of the Month AF1 series, which is a series which started in my hometown of Baltimore back in, I think, the 80s, where shop owners wanted a special version of the Air Force 1s because people in Baltimore really love the Air Force 1s, so they created the Color of the Month series, and Nike decided to revive that in 2023, so every month we're getting a new version of the Air Force 1, at least a new version with a jewel Nike swoosh in a different color, and in June we are getting the the oil green, which essentially is sort of an olive green, and the material on this shoe has changed from leather to a suede, which I'm actually kind of happy about. I mean, don't get me wrong, the leather used on the previous color of the month shoes was amazing, like really nice leather, but it's nice to get a little bit of a change up, not just in color, but also in material, and I think this oil green colorway is very clean. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't found the colorway of this shoe that I want to grab just yet. I was thinking about the orange one, I was thinking about the yellow one, but we have to wait and see. So essentially, this Air Force One is a slightly more premium Air Force One coming in at a slightly more premium Air Force One price of $130. And as we've seen with some of the previous color of the month AF1s, they haven't really sold out, and if they have, it hasn't been that quickly. So because of that, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Continuing on with the 6th, we've got 2 new colorways of the Air Max 1 Puerto Ricos. So for the last decade or so, Nike's been making Puerto Rico themed Air Max 1s. We've had some controversial ones, and then we've had some ones that actually released that are very popular. And it seems like this time around they're releasing 2 colorways of the shoe, one in orange and one in blue. And I believe the inspiration behind these shoes are Piragua. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Piragua.
Looks really good. It looks very tasty. But all that aside, these shoes are inspired by that Puerto Rican treat. They look really nice. You've got these sort of jewel Nike swooshes on the side, which apparently, I guess, are supposed to look like ice. And I really like the colorways on these shoes, and I love the theming of these shoes. I think that's a really cool inspiration. Now, as far as release information for these shoes, besides the date, which honestly still could be tentative, I don't know too much. I mean, we don't even have official images of these shoes yet, so it's possible they might release towards the end of the month. Everyone's saying the 6th, so it's also possible that they release like next week, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But very clean sneakers, and based on what we've seen with some of the previous versions of these shoes, I do think there will be some hype, and it's possible that both of these colorways could sell out. It depends on how many pairs Nike ends up making, but I do think it's possible, so for that reason, I'm giving these shoes a sell. And then finally rounding off June 6th, we've got the children's only release of the Air Jordan 3 Hide and Sneak. So this shoe is almost a white cement 3, except with gray hits instead of black hits. There's really no red hits on the shoe either, but a clean looking sneaker. I believe either one version of the shoe or a couple different versions of the shoe do come with some sort of elephant like tag, which is kind of cool. But I mean, all around it seems like a very clean Air Jordan 3 release. If I had a kid, I'd definitely grab this shoe for them. And honestly, if this came in men's sizes, I would probably grab this shoe for myself as well. It's a very clean Air Jordan 3 colorway. And unfortunately, grade school only or children's only. As we've seen with other shoes like the lost and found ones, you can still find toddler sizes and baby sizes of these shoes in store to this day at places like Lapstone and Hammer and other boutiques. So I do think it's possible that even though the shoe will be popular, it won't sell out. So for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Then we move on to June 7th, and the first release that we've got is the Nike Air Force 1 Low West Coast. So this shoe is releasing to celebrate the 50th anniversary of hip hop, specifically in the California area. The shoe comes in a sort of denim-y blue upper. I don't think it's exactly denim, I think it's actually just blue canvas. It features a really cool metal hit on the laces. I think it just has a Nike logo and like Nike something. What does it say? Let me see. It says Nike Coast, I think. Another cool detail about the shoe is that it features a quilted sock liner and a gum outsole, both details which I really love on sneakers, and all around, it is a clean pair of AF1s. I don't know if this shoe is going to be that popular or even that limited, to be honest with you, so I don't really know what the hype is going to be like, but judging some of the other more limited AF1 releases that we've had recently, I just don't see this shoe being that hype, so for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Also dropping on June 7th, we've got one of the more iconic Nike basketball sneakers of all time, and that's the Nike Air Flight Hirachi, a shoe which a lot of people have been looking forward to for a very long time, at least retro-wise. This shoe comes in one of its original colorways, Varsity Purple and Royal Blue, and features a primarily white upper, and honestly is one of the most classic Nike basketball sneakers to drop in a very long time. It's crazy, even though the Hirachi has been out for decades, it still looks futuristic to this day. It's kind of like the Foamposite. It's a shoe which is from like decades ago, but still looks like it could have been released today, and it would still be modern. And this is a shoe that I know a lot of older heads are going to be excited about. Now, I was born in '92. I'm not a young head by any stretch of the imagination, but I wasn't really around for this release, the original release of this shoe, and if I was, I don't remember it. Not really something I feel like picking up personally, but there are a lot of people out there who are excited about it. Yeah, it dropped in '92. I was 0 years old when this shoe dropped. Regardless, I do think this will be a limited release. I don't think it's going to be incredibly easy to get, but I don't think it's going to be that difficult. So I'm going to give this shoe a sell, but probably not an instant sellout. One of those sellouts where like it sells out in a lot of sizes. You have to kind of search different stores to find it. Might not be the easiest shoe to find. Maybe I should give it a sit. I don't know. It's right in the middle. And then finally rounding out the 7th, we've got the Nike Air Max 1 The Bay. So this shoe comes in a primarily white leather upper accented by a bright red Nike swoosh that's shaped like a feather. It's actually stitched onto the side of the shoe. You've got some white suede around the base of the upper, and then also some interesting fur area, which I guess is supposed to look a little bit like feathers, like around the base of the tongue. Not really sure. I'm also not really sure what the significance of this shoe is. If you guys know, let me know in the comment section down below. But rounding off the entire look, you've got a gum outsole, and that's pretty much it. Now, is the shoe gonna be that hyped? Probably not, but it probably will be pretty limited because it is a Bay specific sneaker. So for that reason, while I do think it will sell relatively well, I don't think it will sell out. So because of that, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Moving on to June 8th, we've got the women's only release of the Nike Dunk Low Coconut Milk and Plum Eclipse. So this is definitely one of the more toned down Nike Dunk Low releases in recent memory. It features sort of a light tan colored suede upper accented by a very dark purple or like dark maroon colored leather overlay. It's a clean looking sneaker, but it's not something that I think is gonna blow anyone's minds. Oh, and one other detail that kind of separates it from some of the other Nike Dunk Lows is the fact that it's got a gum outsole, which kind of contrasts the leather overlays. Usually the overlays are the same color as the outsole, but this time around they decided to change things up. And hey, I mean, the leather quality looks good, the suede quality looks decent. It's an all around clean and simple Nike Dunk Low. Now, unfortunately, it's only releasing in women's sizing, so if you're a dude and you wanna grab these shoes, if you have feet larger than like a size 10 or 11, it's gonna be very difficult for you to grab a pair of these for a reasonable price. However, even though Nike Dunk Lows have been incredibly popular over the last couple of years, I don't know if the hype is still there. So I do think while this shoe may sell out on places like the Sneakers app, it won't be that difficult to find. And this is the first time in a long time I might actually give a pair of Nike Dunk Lows a sit. Now it's possible, it's very possible that I'm wrong on this one, but I do think that they might sit. You could probably walk into your local Foot Locker on the day of release and find them. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this one could sit. Possible I'm wrong, in fact very possible that I'm wrong and the hype is still there, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm taking a risk with this one. I think it could sell out, so I don't know. I'm gonna stick to my guns and say sit. We're going with sit. And then rounding off June 8th, we've got the women's Air Jordan 5 Low Indigo Haze. So this shoe is definitely one of the more laid back, at least at first glance, pairs of Air Jordan 5s. It features sort of a light gray purple upper accented by sort of a yellowish greenish light lime color on the sock liner. You've also got some like hits of blue and hits of gray. It's kind of a very toned down, subdued Air Jordan 5. And weirdly enough, the party trick of this shoe, because this apparently is a party themed Air Jordan 5, is that the entire upper of the shoe is reflective. So when you take a picture of this shoe with a flash, it all looks bright silver. I mean, it's not really anything new. We've seen this done on Air Jordan 5 Lows before, I think with the Neymar Air Jordan 5 Lows, if I remember correctly, but I don't know. It's kind of gimmicky, but some people might like that. And hey, if you want to party in a pair of Air Jordan 5s, I guess this is a great way to go. Now, with that being said, I don't think that many people are that excited about this release. It's kind of boring, if I'm honest. Maybe that's the reason why a lot of people at Nike are out, because a lot of their releases happen kind of like this, a little boring recently. Either way, I don't think this shoe is that exciting. I don't think anyone else really does either. So because of that, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Speaking of reflective, moving on to June 9th, we've got the brand new and reflective Phyllis Street Department Apothecary sock collection. Obviously, two socks from the collection, the orange sock and the black sock, feature reflective stripes on the top, which I think is a really nice hit. Not only that, in addition to the 4 socks that we're dropping as part of this collection, we're also dropping this 6 shirt, which comes in a vintage black, which I absolutely love. It's got the Phyllis Streets Department cone on the front, and then on the back, you got Phyllis Streets Department, which I think looks amazing. This is such a dope collection. I really love the way this looks. It's definitely awesome for summer, and honestly, even fall. I know we're not even in summer yet, but it can definitely be a dope fall look if you're going for that sort of like orangey vibe. But hey, either way, super sick collection. If you guys want to grab it, it releases officially on June 9th at 11 a.m. Eastern time on apothecary.com. And I got this shirt yesterday. I've been wearing it all day yesterday and all day today. I love this shirt. I probably should have changed, but honestly, it's that dope of a shirt. So if you guys want to grab any of this stuff from this collection, again, June 9th at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Also dropping on the 9th, we've got 2 different colorways of the 005 slide by Matthew M. Williams. It's a Nike slide and it retails for 190 bucks. I mean, obviously there's more material and more going on with this slide than the Salehi Bembury slides. However, those are like 70 bucks. This is, I mean, double that price. Almost triple that price. So these slides come in 2 different colorways. You've got this bright neon green Volt colorway and this dark khaki colorway, and both slides look very futuristic. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, they're very interesting and I wouldn't mind to have a pair of these for myself if I could grab a pair for like 60 bucks. What's interesting about these slides, besides just the way that they look, is that they actually have a shank plate in the midsole of these slides, just like a running sneaker, so that they apparently have more stability than standard slides, which is kind of odd. I'm not sure exactly why they'd add that. Maybe that's the reason the price is $190, because it's possible maybe the shank is like carbon fiber or something like that. I'm not sure. But super weird thing to put in a pair of slides. It's not a running sneaker. Like, I don't know why you need that. Maybe it's going for like an extra bounce, but something like React Cushion could give you that same bounce. I'm not sure exactly what the deal is there, but either way, very interesting, very futuristic looking, and very techy slide. I think people will be interested in this shoe because of just the way that it looks. I mean, I'm interested in the way that this shoe looks, and I would grab a pair again if it was a lot cheaper. Honestly, you look back at really anything that Matthew M. Williams has done. He's the founder of Alex. People are hype on it, which is crazy to me. For 190 bucks, $190 for a pair of slides. I mean, I think it's possible that because this collaboration is an MMW collab and people are hype on him and his collaborations and his brand, that this shoe could sell out in both colorways. Even though it's just priced so high. I mean, that feels like a resale price, but maybe they're trying to cut out the middleman and just sell directly to the consumer at that price, which I think could be the case. I don't know. I don't know why this shoe is 190 bucks, but it is. So there you go. I think this shoe could sell. Also, the more that I look at it, the more that this feels more like a mule than a slide, which might justify the price a little bit more, but I don't know. Weird situation. And then finally rounding off the 9th, we've got a shoe that Bodega actually sent me early. Huge thank you to Bodega. If anyone from Bodega is watching this, really appreciate it. This is the Bodega New Balance 610. So I actually have not unboxed, well, that's a lie, I've unboxed these, but I haven't unboxed these on camera yet. I was gonna do like a YouTube short or something like that. Shout out to Bodega. You guys are getting an impromptu unboxing, but here it is. The New Balance 610 Bodega. It's a hiking sneaker collaboration. And I've gotta say that Bodega, as per usual, did their thing on this shoe and it looks awesome. So I'm not gonna lie, I don't know a huge amount about this shoe because I just got it in, but it's obviously a hiking inspired sneaker or a hiking sneaker. I actually went to Hawaii like 2 weeks ago, which was sick. It's my first time there. And I did a lot of hiking in my Bodega Solomons. I think it's a shoe that I was wearing. Yeah, it was. I destroyed those shoes. They're beat now, but it was totally worth it. But this New Balance 610 is a super, super clean sneaker. I love the way it looks. I think I like it even more than the Bodega X-Racer New Balances that were also a hiking collab. Shoe looks great. Looks honestly weatherized. It might actually be somewhat water resistant. I don't know if that's true, but based on the materials, it kind of looks like that. But the shoe drops on the 9th. I believe it retails for 160 bucks. And honestly, I do think this shoe will sell out because New Balance collaborations of any kind right now are insanely hyped up, especially outside of the United States. I was just in Japan. Like I said, I've been gone for a month, so I've been all over the place. But in Japan, New Balance is like the it brand right now, and I think that's gonna move over to the US. I mean, obviously New Balance is still hyped in the US, but like it's crazy hyped in other parts of the world. So I do think that New Balance is on the come up, and I think pretty much anything that they drop right now is like basically got the Midas touch. Like anything that they drop is gonna sell. So I think the shoe will be the same. And again, I think Bodega knocked it out of the park. So huge thank you to Bodega, and I'm definitely giving this shoe a sell. Moving on to June 10th, we've got the Nike Terminator High in University Red. So I actually haven't done my research on the Terminator High yet, which is my bad, I should have done that. But apparently this shoe released back in 1985. It was the first Nike signature school shoe, or school signature shoe, which is pretty cool. And this particular colorway, in my opinion, is the best. It features a white leather upper accented by bright University Red overlays. And it's a 1980s leather high top. It's an awesome looking sneaker, and I think a lot of people are gonna be stoked on this release, even more so than the previous Terminator High release, which didn't sell out. I think this one, while it probably won't sell out, will be more popular than that shoe because of the sort of white and red thing going on. People love white and red, especially because of its association with Michael Jordan, even though this isn't a Michael Jordan shoe, but I think it's gonna be popular. And even though I am gonna give this shoe a sit, I do think there are people out there who are gonna grab this shoe as soon as it drops because they like the way it looks, which actually is probably the main reason that most people buy most shoes. Also dropping on June 10th, we've got the Air Jordan 2 Wings. So this shoe is inspired by the Jordan Wings program. We've had Jordan Wings sneakers for the last, I think, around 10 years. And the Jordan Wings program is a program designed to help students get scholarships for things like college and higher education and stuff like that. Super cool program. And of course, all of the Wings Jordan sneakers have featured some kind of wings detail on the shoe. In this case, this pair of Jordan 2s feature literal wings printed on the back half of the sneaker. And the shoe itself reminds me a lot of the Lucky Green 2s. It's actually a very similar colorway to a shoe that we literally just got. So kind of interesting to see that happen. The green is obviously a bit darker than the Lucky Green 2s, but still a very similar release. The only big difference that you'll notice right off the bat is the wings, which I don't love. Realistically, there's been some really good wings Air Jordan sneakers, but this, in my opinion, is not one of them. Nothing wrong with it. I don't think it's bad, but I just feel like it was kind of a literal tacked on design detail. I shouldn't be hating on it because the wings program is awesome, but I just feel like this particular design is not my favorite. I know obviously this would be more expensive, but maybe molding in like a 3D shape of the wings on the side of the sneaker, similar to like the KD8 Ant Pearls with that sort of molded wing strap. I think if they had done something like that on the side of the sneaker and made it still white, so it's kind of more subtle, but like a literal 3D wing effect, I think that would have been cool. Again, obviously a lot more expensive for them to produce, but think it would have been a cooler effect. I don't know. Either way, I do think this shoe will be relatively limited. I don't think it's going to be impossible to get like a lot of the shoes on today's list, but I do think it's going to be more difficult to get. So for that reason, I do think this shoe will probably end up selling out. Maybe not entirely, like I'm sure I'll be able to walk into like a local boutique and find a couple sizes, but I think on the sneakers app, most likely I do think this shoe will sell out. And then rounding off June 10th, we've got one of my most anticipated sneaker releases of the month. That's the Air Jordan 1 Black Smoke Gray. Black Smoke Gray is just a name that the sneakers app gave this shoe. It's really the washed black Air Jordan 1 or washed heritage Air Jordan 1 or something like that. But either way, it is a very clean looking pair of Air Jordan 1s. It's definitely toned down. It's like, I mean, any gray and white Air Jordan 1 is gonna be a more toned down look, but the shoe features a sort of washed gray overlay that's kind of like a suede or nubuck material. I haven't actually seen the shoe in person, so I'm not sure. I think it's probably a suede. It features a white leather upper and of course a cream colored midsole, and is super clean and super summery. I love the way this shoe looks. It's actually crazy to me that this is like one of the only Air Jordan 1s dropping this month. I mean, it's a good one, but I don't know. Last month we got a lot of Air Jordan 1s, a month before that we got a lot, and then this month we're kind of getting like nothing. We're getting the Tiana Taylors in this, and that's it. Actually, come to think of it, we're not getting any 4s either. This month is kind of slow, man. You know what's crazy? I just realized that. I was writing out the list and I never even thought of it, but this month is slow. Well, I guess it's not that big of a deal. We can all save money this month, maybe buy shoes that we missed out on this month. I don't know. But decent looking sneaker, not too much to say about it. Very clean Air Jordan 1. If I can grab a pair for retail, I will. Not gonna go out of my way to grab this shoe. Maybe grab a pair early for a review or something like that, but probably not. Either way, I think there will be some hype on this shoe. I do think it will probably end up selling out, but it's not gonna be impossible to get, and resale is not gonna be that crazy. So if you miss out on release, you should probably be able to pay around retail and be good to go. Moving on to the 14th, we've got the women's Nike Zoom Vomero 5 in Royal Tint. So pretty much everything I said about the first Zoom Vomero 5s that we talked about earlier on in the video still applies. Great sneaker. For whatever reason, it's a women's only shoe. I'm not sure exactly why they decided to do that. Maybe it's because of the colorway, I'm not sure. But either way, great sneaker. If you haven't tried the Vomero 5s, actually check out my review if you haven't seen that yet. Link at the top of the screen. But awesome shoe, decent colorway. Don't think it'll sell out, but I do think some sizes will sell out. So overall, gonna give this shoe a sit. Also releasing on the 14th, we've got one of the more anticipated releases of the month, and that's the Fragment Clot Nike Dunk Low. And then finishing off the 14th, we've got one of the more anticipated releases of the month, thank God, that's the Fragment Clot Nike Dunk Low. So this shoe is actually very, very clean. It's a double collaboration between Clot, Fragment, actually triple collaboration between Clot, Fragment, and Nike. It features this really cool sort of like pearlescent satin colored upper with the Clot detailing, which I think is super, super clean. You've got these black leather eye stays, which contrast the look, and then this icy outsole, which I'm not sure if it's glow in the dark or not. There's really not that much that's known about the sneaker. I do think it's also possible that the upper could be removable. Don't quote me on that. I haven't seen any pictures that say that it is, but with some of the previous Clot collaborations that look like this, the upper was removable. So again, don't go cutting your Clot, Fragment, Nike Dunk Lows just because I had a hunch that it might be removable. I don't know for sure. Wait until someone else does it before you destroy your pair. But very clean looking sneaker, even if it is just exactly what you're looking at and that's all there is to it. I think it's a very clean look. I love the detailing in the upper, very easy to wear. And also something I really love about this colorway and this color blocking in particular is that it's not your standard Nike Dunk Low color blocking. It's not your standard overlays. You don't have the contrast in the usual places. You only really have this dark black hit on the eye stays, and then the rest of the upper is clean and simple. It's a really nice looking sneaker. I think Fragment and Clot and Nike did their thing on this shoe. Definitely one of the more low-key Clot, Fragment, Nike collaborations to release, but I do think there's gonna be some hype around this shoe. It's definitely a sneaker that I'm looking to pick up, and I definitely think this shoe will sell out. Moving on to June 16th, we've got the Nike Air Foamposite 1 in metallic red. So recently, Nike has been really bringing back the Foamposite. We got the white colorway, we got the all-star colorways, and now we're getting the metallic red colorway, which is the first colorway out of the 3 that have dropped so far that I would actually consider grabbing. I think it's dope. I've never really been a Foamposite guy, even though Foamposites were always huge in Baltimore. Actually, I shouldn't ruin this for you guys, but speaking of that Japan vlog I was talking about, I actually grabbed a pair of Foamposites while I was out thrifting. It's legit. I've legit checked it. It's crazy. I'll give you guys a sneak peek. Oh, look at that. That's crazy. It's wild to me that even though I'm not a huge Foamposite guy, a lot of my grails are Foamposites, and this is one of my grails. Dude, the price that I got those for was insane. Like, you're gonna have to wait for the video. I think it's gonna drop this weekend, but nuts. And actually, if you guys want to see the first part of this trip where I get another Grail sneaker in the Philippines, make sure to click the link at the top of the screen. Also, just a nuts experience too. This whole trip was crazy. But getting back to the shoes that we're actually talking about, the metallic red Foamposite 1s. Very clean look. Foamposites are not for everybody. They feel like bricks on your foot. And if you buy a used pair like I did, they're already molded to someone else's feet, so they don't feel as good as if you grab a new pair. So that's why I want to grab this pair, because I haven't had a new pair of Foamposites in like 8 years. So it would be nice to experience what it feels like to actually have a pair that's molded to my foot. And the metallic red colorway is bright, it's out there, but it's a classic. The only real change between this version and the previous version is the tumbled leather eye stay on the shoe, which I think some people like and some people don't. If you're a fan of metallic red and you love the Foamposite, this is a must cop. Now with that being said, it's still gonna be expensive like all of the other Foamposites with a retail price of $250, which is pricey, but definitely a cool sneaker and definitely one that I'm excited to rock. Now, do I think this shoe will sell out? Not 100% sure. The white pair didn't really. I mean, it sold well, but not out, at least not in every store. So I think the shoe has potential to do the same thing. I do think that because this colorway is a bit more popular than the white colorway, at least that's my guess, I think the shoe has a higher chance of selling out than that colorway did. So for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell, but again, kind of on the fence. It could go either way. Moving on to June 20th, we've got the Jason Tatum 1 Pink Lemonade. Oh man, as a Sixers fan, that felt good. It was nice to see them get knocked out. I love Jimmy Butler. The biggest mistake I think the Sixers ever made was getting rid of Jimmy Butler. That was stupid. Other than drafting Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz, you know, and doing some other stupid stuff like getting rid of Mikal Bridges. This is one of the I think this is the biggest mistake the Sixers ever made. I think we could have won a championship by now. We would have been in the finals at least twice. I don't know. We should get back to the shoe. I don't want to hate the Celtics. I think Jason Tatum's an incredible player. I just don't like that he's on the Celtics. So this shoe is a pink lemonade themed sneaker because it's Jason Tatum's favorite drink. Totally get that. Love the drink. I think it's awesome. And the Jason Tatum 1, while I haven't tried a pair for myself, actually looks like a decent sneaker. It's a good looking shoe. It's apparently a decent performer, and I'd like to try a pair for myself. I do think the shoe is going to be more popular than some of the other Jason Tatum colorways because I think it's a better colorway than some of the ones that he's dropped previously, but I don't see this shoe selling out. So for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Next up, on June 22nd, we've got the women's exclusive release of the Air Jordan 2 Low Look Up in the Air. So apparently this shoe is inspired by the same skyline that inspired the Air Jordan 1 Skylines. It's the same sort of vibe on the sneaker, except a bit more toned down. Like the Skyline ones, the shoe features a fade from pink to blue, except this time around on a very thin piping detail on the side of the sneaker. It also features a white leather upper and cream midsole. But it is a women's only release, and it is an Air Jordan 2 Low, two things which do not help these shoes sell out. I feel like Jordan 2 Lows, as much as Jordan Brand is pushing them, they're just not moving. I feel like even though it's a great sneaker and I love the Jordan 2 and the Jordan 2 Low, it's just not gonna catch on the way that Jordan Brand wants it to. I feel like they gotta stop dropping these releases and either drop really hyped up collaborations on this silhouette like a Travis or something like that, or just be done with it. These shoes just keep hitting outlets and they just keep sitting around. And I think this shoe is gonna be no different. I think the Look Up in the Airs, which is just way too long of a name for this shoe, is probably gonna end up sitting on shelves. Then continuing on to June 23rd, we've got the Air Jordan 1 Low Black Cement. Actually, this is another really solid Air Jordan 1 release this month. I forgot about this shoe, but this is a really solid Air Jordan 1 Low. So the upper of this shoe comes in a black nubuck accented by elephant print overlays, a white Nike swoosh, and a cream colored midsole. And it reminds me a lot of the Supreme Nike SB Dunk Lows, a shoe which is incredibly popular and a grail for a lot of people. And this shoe is actually a pretty clean, sort of modern Air Jordan 1 take on that design. In fact, I think this version of the shoe is way cleaner than the high top version of the elephant print, like miles ahead of that shoe. I think the color blocking is better, I think the black is better than the white, and I think the silhouette itself works better for this design than the high top did. I think the high top was just too much elephant print. This is like the perfect amount. And while I'm not a big elephant print on shoes other than the Air Jordan 3 guy, this is actually a release that I might try and grab. This is actually a really dope looking pair of Jordan 1s. And something that I learned when I was in the Philippines is that outside the United States, the Air Jordan 1 Low is the most popular silhouette of the two. And I think it's becoming that way in the United States as well. I think Jordan 1 Lows, especially around summertime, are insanely popular. And I think this shoe will absolutely end up selling out. Then getting to the final day that we're covering in today's video, June 30th, we have the first release, which is the Air Jordan 7 White Infrared. Man, this infrared colorway just doesn't hit the same on the 7s. It's just not the same. In my opinion, this is just proof that the infrared colorway really only works on the Air Jordan 6. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, but this 7 for me is just not it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like a bad sneaker, but when you compare it to the original, it just doesn't work. I know it's stupid because it's an all white shoe and it's just like a little hit of infrared that makes it an infrared, but realistically, I mean, you look at the two shoes together and it just doesn't hit the same. It really doesn't. I'm sure there's people out there who are excited about this release, but I really think this is gonna end up being an outlet special, and because of that, I'm giving this shoe a sit. And then finally rounding off today's video, also dropping on the 30th, we've got the Action Bronson New Balance 990 V6 Lapis Lazuli. So this is the second Action Bronson colorway on the 990 V6, and this is actually the more toned down colorway of the shoe. This time around, the shoe comes in dark navies and teals and purples and a really nice cream colored midsole, and is a very, very clean look on the sneaker. The first Action Bronson 990 V6 was a clean look, but it was just really, really bright and really, really out there, and wasn't a shoe that I think everyone was that excited about because of the color blocking. I think some people just couldn't rock with it, myself included. This new version of the shoe is just so clean, so wearable, and still features some pops of color to make it interesting. I think it's the perfect release. I think this is the better of the two. Plus, the 990 V6 is like one of the best New Balance sneakers to ever release. It looks amazing, it's stupid comfortable on foot, and when it's paired with a good colorway, it just pops. And you guys know me, I love New Balance. I'm a huge New Balance fan, and this is a must cop in my opinion. Absolute must cop. Probably gonna have to pay resale for it because let's be honest, it's gonna be impossible to grab for retail, but man, this is a clean look. Action Bronson has been killing it with New Balance. New Balance in general has been killing it. You guys know that. I love them. But hey, that pretty much wraps things up for this month. I would love to know your thoughts on these releases in that comment section down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.